doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Mr. President, do you know if you were the target of the gunman?
I don't know. It sounded to me, I read a manifesto. He's radicalized. He was a Christian, a believer, and then he became an anti-Christian, and he had a lot of change. He's been going through a lot based on what he wrote. His brother complained about him, and I think reported him to the police, and his sister likewise complained about him. His family was very concerned. He was probably a pretty sick guy. I see these no kings, which are funded just like the Southern Law was funded. You saw all that. Southern Law is financing the KKK and lots of other radical, terrible groups. And then they go out and they say, oh, we've got to stop the KKK, and yet they give them hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars. It's a total scam run by the Democrats. It shows you that, like Charlottesville was all funded by the Southern Law. That was a Southern Law deal, too. And it was done to make me look bad, and it turned out to be a total fake. It basically was a rigged election. This was a part of the rigging of the election.
What do you say to people who are encouraging political violence or even cheering it on?
Well, I think the ones that are doing that are much more far left than far right, much more. When you see, again, Southern Law, when you see some of the statements that are made that are so, even when you say no kings, that's encouraging. You're saying one of the things this guy said in his manifesto, which you didn't read, you should have, is that he attended a no kings rally, along with not too many people, and probably it had an impact. You know, they get up and they say whatever they want. No, I'm against that. I think it's not necessarily for violence, but probably it's not the worst thing in the world. Look, we are consequential. This is a consequential presidency. I have a great cabinet, and they do things that are very good, but some people, you know, if they're good for us, they're not good for other people. Like, as an example, Iran, when they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They will not have. They're not going to blow up the world. They're crazy. They're not going to blow up the world. And therefore, they're not happy. And when they're not happy, people do things that are violent. Now, I'm not tracing anything back to them, but certainly if they had a shot, they'd probably take it.
How much of a better place Ukraine is in today than they were a year ago? In the past 4 months, and sorry for being morbid, and I know this is rough language, but in the past 4 months, Ukraine has killed or wounded between 30 to 35,000 Russian soldiers per month. They have done so 95% with drones, at a ratio of 1 Ukrainian dead to 5 Russians dead. First of all, I think the most credible security guarantee that Ukraine has right now is 800,000 strong armed force and a capacity to conduct modern warfare unlike any other NATO member states. So I think the tide has actually turned. I think we Europeans have to understand that, you know, we need Ukraine more than Ukraine needs us. They know how to do this thing. Then the question is on the peace agreement. You know, I just don't see Putin changing his mind. I was optimistic for a few months and, you know, working at it, but it ended up being classical Russian delay tactics.
לראש הממשלה לשעבר בנט, ב-2015 אמרת לא פעם, בוודאי שאנחנו מתנגדים לנישואים חד-מיניים, זה דבר מנוגד ליהדות, זו דעה שהבאת הרבה פעמים, אבל בשבוע שעבר אמרת בריאיון, כל אדם בישראל צריך להיות מסוגל לממש את אהבתו בארץ, ושאתה תומך בנישואים לכל מי שרוצה. האם אתה מתחייב כאן על הבמה הזו לאפשר בישראל נישואים חד-מיניים?
אני עומד מאחורי מה שאני אומר, צריך לאפשר לכל בן אדם בישראל להקים פה משפחה וליהנות מכל הזכויות שנתונות מכוח נישואין. זו עמדתי.
אז ממשלה בראשותכם תקדם נישואים חד-מיניים?
ממשלה בראשותנו תקדם את האפשרות לכל אזרח ואזרחית בישראל להקים משפחה בישראל וליהנות מכל הזכויות בלי שהם צריכים לנסוע לקפריסין או ליוטה או לשום מקום אחר.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Got a big show for you today. I want to say hello to the crew. You're cleared hot in the chat. Check out whatfinger.com, a great aggregator site of ours. They post a lot of our content. You saw in the cold open the Israeli troops trying to load some troops on wounded soldiers on a medevac helicopter, and a drone attacked them from Hezbollah. Interesting to watch. As a helicopter pilot myself, that's not a good feeling, believe me. You also saw in the cold open, Likud is being challenged by a new party where two of the opposition forces have joined forces and are looking to oust the Likud government in Israel. That's interesting, and we'll try to get some people this week to talk about that online. So stand by for that. So much going on. We want to talk about the assassination attempt that happened, President Trump over the weekend. Bill Quinn and I went through a really good discussion last night on that yesterday on the Georgia show. So we're going to play that here in the second segment. And then I was going to have Euro Bytes talk in the second hour, but the video we did is corrupted. So we'll come up with something else for the second hour as we produce on the fly, as we always do here at the SCIF. Probably something that has to do with what's happening in the world. So much going on. Let's do the mission brief. Today is April 27th. I'm your host, Todd Wood. This is your mission brief. U.S. is in the driver's seat in the Persian Gulf. There's a really good article on CDM I want to delve into later. Extending U.S. veteran benefits to the IDF. Yep, you heard that right. That's a thing. And there's a bill in Congress pending to do that. The need for the White House Ballroom. Roger Stone put out a really good case on CDM, which I want to discuss. Ukrainophobia is now illegal in Ukraine, but don't worry, it's a democracy. Geoengineering lawsuit filed in Colorado by Tom Renz and crew. Again, and we'll try to get Tom on this week to discuss. So, wow, so much going on. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the SCIF. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot to talk about today. Be right back.
Excited to announce that we're having our biggest Made in America sale ever. We just put huge discounts on products made right here in the USA. My Pillow bed pillows, body pillows, go anywhere pillows, bolster pillows, all made with my patented adjustable fill. Mattresses, mattress toppers, mattress pads, adjustable bed frames, mattress foundations, and so much more. All made right here in the USA. And now we're expanding our USA products beyond just quality sleep. Like the cross I wear every day, now available in both men's and women's. We even have USA-made socks. And are you tired of being tired? Try our new health beverage, Rev 7. Or how about my coffee, the greatest coffee ever? So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get deep discounts on all these products. Plus, for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Divorce is tough, but your finances don't have to be. I'm David Cross, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst practitioner. My job is to help you get a fair financial settlement in your divorce and to guide you to smarter money decisions. Find out how we can help you. U.S. Asset Management. It's your money.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. We're going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say, the brave men of the Green Beret, silver wings.
Welcome back to the SCIF, my friends. I want to make an announcement that Willie Laura, our CDM Espanol partner, has built a fantastic new studio and production team that we are co-funding, and that is in Texas. And we will be seriously upgrading our production value over the next few weeks. We'll be having new studios and new production team and all of that. So you're going to see a marked improvement in what we put out here video-wise. The content will always be high speed as it always is, but the production value will be much, much better. So we're on cdm.press. Please check it several times a day. We're on X, we're on Getter, we're on X on multiple channels, and we're on YouTube and multiple Rumble channels. You can find us in a lot of different places. Please check cdm.press a few times a day. It's the best thing you can do for us traffic-wise. And that gets us more traffic, more eyeballs, more buzz, and the show grows. So we're also on podcast, as I said, and any podcast provider you can find the show to listen to in the car or whatever, on the plane. You can double time it, whatever a lot of people do. They tell me that to get through it. And then please sign up for our no ad subscriptions. It's my.cdm.press. That's my.cdm.press. You get access to all of our content with no advertisements. And people love that because they can, we're having a lot of political ads coming up now, and I know that, but you know what? That's a huge moneymaker for us, and we gotta survive and thrive. So if you don't like seeing those ads, you can just pay us $10 a month or $100 a year like everybody does. Get it out of the way, and then you've got no ads for the entire year popping up on your phone or on your computer. All right. I sat down with Bill Quinn yesterday on the Georgia show. It was a really good convo on what's happening on the, or what happened at the Washington Hilton over the weekend with the assassination attempt on President Trump. So I'm going to play that. And if there's any problems with the audio or anything, please let me know, and I'll deal with it. But here we go. Hope you enjoy this discussion. I think it's good.
Well, I think we overlap on a couple subjects. You're doing the majority of the heavy lifting today. So my understanding is we're going to talk a bit about the assassination attempt. We might point out a couple of the oddities that are already showing up and some of the things that are showing up online. We'll talk a little bit about one of the key races here in Georgia. And as we've said, watch the details. And if you do, you will learn. And we may be learning some things about a couple of the candidates, and we'll talk about that.
Interesting. So, well, let's get to the correspondence dinner. How do you want to do this? I have the clip if you want to show that.
Go right ahead with what you have, and then I may supplement it depending on what you've pulled.
Okay, this is on cdm.press. It is our main channel for the network. But let me just find all those videos. Hold on. Here we go. So there's that, and then there's more of him being evacuated. See the Secret Service coming out there with their long guns. Anyway, and there's a bunch of videos on X of pandemonium in the room, in the hallways, the police, and then pushing away bystanders who were trying to get in to see what was going on. But what did you want to highlight, Bill?
There was a couple very interesting things. Let's take a look at a different angle of the event as it unfolded. So we're going to be behind the front table as if we were one of the people seated at the front table, and you'll be able to watch the initial folks walk up to Trump, and then all of a sudden things escalate, and you can see Secret Service with the long guns and others run by you to take up tactical positions. So what surprised a number of folks, and many people commented on it, they seemed to let him sit at the table longer than you would have expected.
Yeah, it took a good 10 or 15 seconds. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. And you could see other people moving from the other end of the table before they moved Trump. It's unclear why they would do that. They probably, they could very well have very specific protocols for this kind of a setup. It may have been because the threat was in another room. Unclear. One of the fascinating things, most people know Dana White, who is a close friend of Trump. He heads the UFC. He's CEO of the UFC fighting organization. And we get a picture of him, a video of him while this was unfolding. Take a look at this.
Damn, you're okay. It started getting noisy. Tables getting flipped over, guys running in with guns, and they were screaming, "Get down!" I didn't get down. It was fucking awesome. I literally took every minute of it in, and it was pretty crazy, unique experience.
So you gotta give the guy credit. Not much scares this dude. So what you couldn't see, but that was unfolding around him, was there were a lot of people on the ground. Many climbed underneath tables. Some ran for the corners and sides of the room to get out of there. But Dana just kind of hung tight, kept his head down a little bit, but that was about it. And pretty interesting. The other thing that's now unfolded, we could show some pictures of the gentleman out front if you have some of those, or I can do it.
No, go ahead.
So one of the things that people are noting is here's a picture of the assailant, alleged assailant, on the ground. Apparently they've stripped him. It's unclear why. It may have been that he was injured in some way. But one of the questions that people asked was, this is a crime scene, and it's an important crime. How is it that a cameraman got in there to get this picture? And that's unclear at the moment. Here he is on his from another angle. Apparently they they had to strip him and put one of those space blankets over him. Again, unclear why. And then as things have begun to unfold, people are asking questions about who this gentleman is. And on this previous video, we showed pictures of him here. I won't play that again. But then this surfaces, and it is a video, I believe it's from ABC, with the same gentleman talking about apparently an invention, an emergency brake for wheelchairs that he is involved with. Let's take a look at this.
Alan developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
So, like so many things over the past months, here we have this strange conflagration of events and facts. How is it that this particular person was on television promoting a wheelchair device and then happens to be the gentleman that attempts to invade the correspondence dinner, ostensibly to harm Trump or someone else, or maybe many people? Very, very odd. Okay, let me take that down. The other thing I noted was, did you have occasion to think about the venue for the event last night and what it has in history? Let's see.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I'm glad you are.
Go right ahead.
No, it's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
So this was held at the Washington Hilton, and the Washington Hilton is also the site of the attempted Reagan assassination. Let's see, March 30th, 1981. So just an interesting. I mean, there's only so many places they could hold this, I guess, in Washington, but it did strike. Did strike my political consultant as interesting that it happened to be at the same venue. Becky.
Sure. Well, no, that's just you see all these weird connections, and it's almost like it was planned in some kind of humorous kind of way or something. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah. The president jumped right on it later in the evening, made his statement, and in that he actually, and then in subsequent posts, he is focused on the need for the ballroom that's being built adjacent to the White House, and the fact that it's tied up in a legal morass at the moment, and that legal problem needs to end. He claims that, or stated that it was a lady walking her dog that caused the case. I haven't tracked it that closely, but that doesn't seem to be just cause to stop the building of a presidential ballroom.
Jeez. Yeah, they're throwing anything they can at that one. That's for sure. Trump made a point also that this morning that there's a security issue to the ballroom. It's not just aesthetics. You can have events like this with complete security, which it should be.
I think he referred to it as the military top secret ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
It almost sounds ominous when he says it that way. I'm not sure quite what that means.
Wow. Well, is that all you got on that, Bill, or do you got anything else?
That's all I got. I bet there's more coming, though, and it'll probably just get crazier. We'll see. We're glad that, we're very glad that the president is okay.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Put silver wings on my son's chest. Make him one of America's best. He'll be a man. He'll test one day. Have him win the Green Beret.
Welcome back to the SCIF. All right, I told you that we had a little bit of a change today. Euro Bytes was going to be on in the second hour, but we got Tom Teague who's going to come in. We're going to talk about what's going on geopolitically and in the financial markets. But I'm on my way to Beirut soon again, and we're going to be talking and working with the Christian population in Beirut as they struggle to survive, and we want to highlight what's going on with them. And one of the big, issues in Beirut, which really got all of this started years ago, decades ago, was the Beirut bombing, where many Marines died. And I actually went to the memorial up in the mountains with all the cedar trees around. It's a beautiful place if you ever get a chance to go, of the Beirut bombing. And the families of the Beirut soldiers that were killed come to Beirut still to this day and honor them at this memorial. So it hasn't gone away. And very fascinating. Very fascinating how the Maronite Christian community really honors the Marines who were killed, U.S. Marines who were killed in that attack. I want to play a short video to just give you the history of that, because it's really important. So stand by 1 second. Here we go.
A little more than 40 years ago, in 1982, U.S. Marines began a peacekeeping mission as part of a multinational force in war-torn Lebanon. The Marines were to maintain a visible presence in the capital of Beirut in hopes that it would deter further bloodshed amongst the various warring factions and militias fighting for control of the country. So how did violence in the area operation escalate? What was the result of the bloodshed? And what happened to the Marines in Beirut? Let's try and find out.
Hello, I'm Mike Droberg,
Marine Corps veteran and filmmaker, and we will try to answer these questions on today's episode of Forgotten History. The conflicts in Lebanon that preceded Marine involvement in 1982 were complex, with the roots of violence tracing back centuries. The immediate cause of the fighting in the 1980s that precipitated Marine involvement directly stemmed from the Arab-Israeli conflicts of 1948 and 1967. Palestinian refugees fleeing the conflicts and members of the Palestinian Liberation Organization exiled from Jordan in 1970 and 71 sought safe haven in Lebanon. The presence of these immigrants exacerbated age-old ethnic and religious differences. The increasing friction between the factions ignited a civil war in 1975 between PLO, Christian, and Muslim forces. While these were the major combatants, 3 major religious groups and 45 different sects and political factions all vied for power during this time. At the request of the Lebanese government, Syrian troops restored order to the region and remained in the country under the Arab League mandate. However, PLO forces remained and used Lebanon as a base of operations for harassing attacks into Israel. The United States and international community unsuccessfully sought a resolution to the fighting, and Israel invaded southern Lebanon in June of 1982 in order to defeat the PLO. The superior Israeli forces quickly reached the outskirts of Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, located on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. The U.S. spearheaded the resolution to the conflict by proposing the evacuation of PLO fighters from Beirut. Though the evacuation briefly ended the fighting, the assassination of the newly elected Lebanese president Bakir Gemayel, followed by the massacre of Palestinian refugees in Beirut camps, shattered any hopes of lasting peace. With Lebanon descending back into instability and chaos, President Ronald Reagan ordered the 32nd Marine Amphibious Unit to Beirut as part of the multinational force. On 29 September, the 32nd Marine Amphibious Unit landed on the coast of Lebanon and occupied positions around the Beirut International Airport. The Marines' mission revolved around the concept of providing presence. American political leaders thought that the presence of armed Marines would deter the warring factions from fighting and provide time for the Lebanese government to retain control of the situation. The Marines' time in Beirut was relatively peaceful, with the exception of a Marine killed during mine-sweeping operations and the occasional stray bullet of small arms fire from the Lebanese armed forces. The Marines spent the majority of their time constructing defenses and building bonds with the local population and other multinational force troops. Throughout their deployment, the Marines did not engage in any combat, and on 30 October 1982, the 24th Marine Amphibious Unit relieved them. The 24th Marine Amphibious Unit expanded the missions of presence during their deployment to Beirut. To increase visibility, the Marines conducted motorized and foot patrols throughout parts of the city. During this period, the Marines also began specialized training for members of the Lebanese armed forces. Surprisingly, the biggest threat to the Marines during this deployment actually came from the Israeli Defense Forces. Israeli troops were occasionally ambushed by PLO forces, which the Israelis suspect of hiding within the Marines' area of operation. In response, the Israelis probed Marine positions, often fired into Marine area of operations when engaging PLO fighters. Confrontations between the Marines and the IDF became increasingly common during this deployment and nearly resulted in the exchange of fire. To avoid further misunderstandings, diplomatic negotiations between the Israelis and Americans resulted in better communications and the hard definition of respective military lines. On February 15, 1983, the 22nd Marine Amphibious Unit relieved the 24th. The Marines of the 22nd Marine Amphibious Unit were already familiar with the mission and were moved into their old positions. On 17 April, an unknown enemy shot and nearly wounded a Marine sentry, who then returned fire with results unknown. This marked the first time the Marines returned fire in Beirut. But this event was overshadowed the next day, on 18 April, when a terrorist detonated a truck bomb at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, killing 63 people, 17 of whom were Americans. The embassy bombing effectively changed the mission and rules of engagement for the Marines. The Marines could now return fire if they perceived a threat. On 29 May, the 24th Marine Amphibious Unit landed in Beirut to relieve the 22nd. The first week, the 24th Marine Amphibious Unit's deployment were relatively quiet. The Marines would continue to patrol and train LAF troops, the latter creating animosity from various anti-LAF factions and militias. Any doubt that the Marines were targets of these militias ended on 22nd July when the Marine positions at the Air Force received small arm, rocket, and mortar fire. The situation in Beirut further deteriorated in August as the IDF prepared to leave their positions around the capital as part of a May agreement signed by Israel and Lebanon. The presence of well-equipped Israeli forces had deterred much of the violence in Beirut, but as they began to withdraw, the fighting between various factions flared up, leaving the multinational force stuck in the middle. The LAF attempted to fill the role of the IDF, but was less well-trained and equipped. As the fighting escalated, Marines found themselves on the receiving end of both stray and targeted rounds. On August 28th, the fighting around the airport reached a crescendo as the LAF engaged militia groups in the nearby neighborhoods. During this time, more than 100 rounds of mortar and rocket rounds landed within the Marine positions at the airport. The fighting continued to increase throughout September, following the complete withdrawal of the IDF on September 4th. In addition to these intense combat engagements during this period, other developments signaled a shift in American policy towards the Lebanon crisis. Though the multinational force was supposed to be a neutral peacekeeping force, its actions signaled otherwise. Lebanese militias clearly resented the Marines' effort to train LAF forces and prompted them to attack Marine positions. Any claims for American neutrality was further negated when U.S. Navy ships fired their guns in support of LAF units that reported being in danger of being overrun by militia groups on 19 September. Despite a ceasefire at the end of September, sporadic heavy fighting continued in October, and the Marines continued to take casualties. Then, on the morning of 23 October, disaster struck for the 24th Marine Amphibious Unit. At 6:22 a.m., a Mercedes-Benz stake-bed truck laden with 2,000 pounds of explosives sped past the Marine post, through a fence, and crashed into the lobby of Battalion Landing Team 1-8 headquarters building and detonated. The BLT building, housing more than 300 men, completely collapsed into a pile of rubble almost instantaneously. The compressed gas-enhanced bomb detonated by the suicide truck bomber was the largest non-nuclear explosion ever recorded. In the immediate aftermath of the bombing, the Marines scrambled to ascertain the situation and take preventative measures against further attacks. Working parties and medical teams dispatched from naval ships offshore accelerated rescue operations and saved countless Marines. Unfortunately, the devastating attack left many more dead than wounded. The blast had killed 3 soldiers, 18 sailors, and 220 Marines. The Marines had to handle not only recovering the survivors, but also identifying the dead. The complete destruction of the BLT and the fact that many of the Marines were sleeping in PT gear without dog tags made the task difficult. Further compounding the problem, the BLT kept its medical records in the basement of the building, and they could not be recovered until a few days after the attack. Anyone who could positively identify the men in the BLT on the morning of 23 October was either dead or wounded. Identifying the dead required making rosters of the living and tracking down the wounded. The process was slow and painful for families back in the U.S., but it was necessary to ensure that the information was accurate. Despite the heroic efforts of all rescue workers, no survivors were located after 23 October. The searchers still worked tirelessly, and by 30 October, all Marine remains were located and transferred to planes for their final flight home to the U.S. As the deployment continued into 1984, the 22nd Marine Amphibious Unit continued to reinforce their positions and build better fortifications. In the end, the Marine and multinational force presence was contingent on the success of the Lebanese government and LAF. The fighting between the LAF and militias, particularly the Amal, intensified rapidly in February. During this time, Muslim troops of the LAF began deserting, damaging the LAF's fighting capability. As the situation became critical, Marines began evacuating American civilians from Beirut on the 7th of February. On the 18th of February, The 22nd Marine Amphibious Unit received orders for redeployment at the end of February, and they handed over control of the airport to the LAF and ended major Marine operations in Beirut. During the 18th month-long operation in Beirut, Marines suffered 238 killed and 151 wounded. In 1986, a memorial to the Beirut Marines was constructed outside the entrance of Camp Johnson in Jacksonville, North Carolina. 2 broken granite walls, representative of the crumbled BLT building, composed the memorial. The first is inscribed with the names of all American servicemen killed during operations in Beirut, while the second carries the simple inscription, "They came in peace."
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments or show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. We are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be 2 things: homeopathy and herbals or herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can be born short of insulin, right? Mm-hmm. The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods.
So this is what drove you to develop this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I just wanted to do a recap on the Beirut situation. So you have a Christian country that was 70% Christian in the early 70s, Christian government. And what happened? You had 500,000 Palestinian refugees be sent to Lebanon, which are Arabs, of course. and it caused essentially a civil war inside the country, which dramatically reduced the Christian population, or demographically, the percentage of the country down to less than 40% today. So this is where Jesus walked. This is the land of Christianity. It's the Levant. I sat down with one woman who told me the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. She was at the only village in the world that spoke Aramaic still, and that was in Syria. She was a refugee. There are 2 million Arab civilian or Arab Sunni refugees in Lebanon, in addition to the 500,000 Palestinians, and all this is continuing to compound the demographic issue. Then you had the Beirut bombing of the airport, which, there's a lot of suspect as to how that happened and why it happened. And then you have a color revolution in 2019 pushed by the Soros apparatus, which destroyed the Lebanese financial system, which the Christians majority ran. And we still have those issues today in Beirut. It's still not what it used to be. It used to be kind of the New York City of the Middle East. It's no longer. So you've had a routine attacks on the Lebanese Christian population in Beirut. And I just want you to be aware of that. And that's why I wanted to play that and give you an idea of what happened to the Marines. And on that note, I have this up, but let me bring it back up. If you go to armedforces.press, we have a really good story after my last trip to Beirut, or actually the first trip, not the last, but the first time I went to Beirut, on the Tabria memorial to the U.S., to the Christian resistance and the U.S. Marine bombing in Beirut. And you can go through all these slides and read about it. It's on armedforces.press. Just search for Beirut. This is the entrance to the memorial. These are memorials to the Christian resistance fighters who died in the Civil War, many of them, and lots of interesting art all over the place. Fascinating. And this is where the Christian leaders hid from attacking aircraft during the war, in this location. They told me all about it. Fascinating. And this is the Beirut memorial to the Marines that were killed. So a lot there. You can find that again on armedforces.press and just search for Beirut and you will find that. Let's walk through some other stories before we bring Tom Teague on at the top of the hour. This one you should know about. There's a bill in Congress to give veterans benefits, U.S. veteran benefits to IDF soldiers. I'm not going to make a comment on that one way or the other, but you can read the story on armedforces.press. Also, Iran, Iranian nuclear negotiations are moving forward, but the U.S. is in a much better position. This article I put out today on that whole situation, borrowing from analysts at multiple different publications, which are cited in there. But this is interesting that you have a situation where the U.S. essentially holds the cards, and Trump said we're in no hurry to make a deal. We can sit here and block the strait forever, and that's essentially true. And I'm happy with this outcome, because the alternative in a troop landing in Karg Island or on the Iranian coast, which would have to happen if you did take Karg, you'd have to go in and remove all the fast boats and all the threats along the Iranian coast, which is a big deal. It would take 100,000 plus troops at least. And I'm really glad that Trump is not doing that. We want to continue to support this blockade option in opposition to any kind of ground operation in Iraq or in Iran, excuse me. All right, let's go to the next one. Roger Stone put this story out about the need, it's on cdm.press, the need for the White House Ballroom, and why this whole assassination attempt over the weekend, which, there's going to be a lot more coming out on this. It's really weird. People are questioning, was it staged, all this. I don't know what's going on there, but I do know that that was not a safe location, and the Secret Service did not, or whoever the staff decision maker who decided that was not a high security event, and so they had less layers of security, is just insane. So check this story out on cdm.press. Roger Stone's one of our best writers and puts out a lot of good information on a lot of stuff that you need to be aware of. All right, the Ukrainian Parliament. This is from one of our sources in Kiev. It's on our Eastern European site, tsarism.com. Let me bring that up so people can see. It's our first site and my favorite, actually, because it it really is a huge interest of mine in Eastern Europe. It's how we got started. And Tsarizm.com, TSARIZM.com. It has nothing to do with supporting Putin or Russia, but it covers the Tsarist Empire from Poland all the way to San Francisco. And we try to cover that region of the world on Tsarism. But Ukrainian parliament drafts law imposing criminal penalties for Ukrainophobia. Ukrainophobia. And that's anything, if you talk bad about the government, essentially about Zelensky or anything, or say anything, negative about the government actions, you can be held with criminal charges. And just, again, another example of the dictatorship and no democracy in Ukraine. This is a tyrannical regime that is bent on not having peace and bent on continuing the war for its European capital masters, its globalists in Europe and around the world, and just continuing the death and destruction and really depopulating Ukraine. That's what's going on. We've seen over and over, and we'll play more with Pete Blaber this week, of the mobilization bounty hunters, whatever you want to call it, where they're kidnapping and press ganging and beating men on the street, and even starting to do this to women to bring them to the front because there's no men left hardly in Ukraine. So just another example. And again, we bring really good reporting, and that's a great example of that. One more I want to talk to you about. This one is on our paper, the Colorado Free Press. Attorney Tom Renz and his team filed a lawsuit against Geoengineering, which is the spraying of the skies with chemicals for, global warming or whatever it is. This filters down into your coffee, into your baby formula, into everything, the air you breathe. And it's been going on for a long time. And Tom is actually doing something to try to stop it. So we're going to stay on this lawsuit and try to get him on soon and discuss all of that. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Tom Teague. A lot to go through, so don't go anywhere. Stay with us here on the SCIF. We'll be right back.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Euro Bytes will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and ERA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back to the SCIF. I want to give a shout out and a thought to you for anyone who is a geopolitical consumer, I should say, of news. Who's ever, that news junkie in your family. I have several in my family, of course. Some of them are my children, but there's a lot of news junkies in our family. And if you have somebody like that who wants to know what's going on in Iran, I want to recommend my book, Paying the Price: The Untold Story of the Iranian Resistance. They have signed copies at the publisher historyofbooks.com, which we have a joint venture with, and there's a lot of great books there. But check it out. And it really does give you a unique viewpoint of what's going on the ground and why we think we can take down this government from the inside with the right support of the resistance units. And I'm not talking arms, I'm not talking finances, I'm talking really just political and moral and bully pulpit support from the U.S. government could do wonders. But for some reason, there's a huge resistance to this inside the U.S. government, inside the European governments. They would rather appease the mullahs, at least prior to Trump, and not really push the resistance to take over the country. Maybe they're worried of a democratic Iran. I don't know, but check out the book. I know you know somebody who is interested and maybe needs to know what's going on, or maybe yourself doesn't really know what's happening on the ground in Iran. But this one is a biggie, so check it out. Also, I talked about Nucleo Boost in the ad recently. This is Nucleo Boost. It's our micronutrition tablets, everything you need to have all the nutrition into your cells at the cellular level. It has the bio-aloe to get it inside the cell. And I use this all the time. It's how we stay really, focused and keep the stamina up on our team. We have a lot of people that are on Nucleo, and when we're out of it, they get angry. So there's a powder also. I don't have that in front of me, but you can use the powder in yogurt or in a smoothie. That's the way I do when I'm at home. My wife makes a mean smoothie, but when I'm on the road, I take the capsules with me, and that gives me everything I need at the cellular level to keep going. All right, I'm waiting on Tom Teague to come in. He should be in any minute now. So let's talk about one more thing, which is another book of mine. If you're into fiction, or historical fiction, I should say, this one you may want to take a gander at. It is the first book in the Connor Murray series. It's called Currency. There's over 500 reviews on Amazon. It's well above 4.0 out of 5 on the review ratings. And it's a page turner. It's one of those you stay up all night to read, or it should be a movie, is the theme we get often. So check it out, Currency. The second one is called Sugar. Currency, you can kind of guess what it's about. It's about finance. And I've had people tell me also that it should be a movie, and I stayed up all night to read it, but also that I learned a lot about finance, and I got an MBA, a micro MBA, by reading this book. So it's really, you get a lot of geopolitical history, you get drama, you get romance, you get thrills, but history and how it relates to the U.S., but also a lot of other things. So check out Currency. The second in the second volume is called Sugar. And let me just check and see if Tom Teague is coming here. Mr. Teague is going to be here shortly. And Sugar is about energy. And then the third book is called Motherland. And I will blow you away if you understood really what the book is about. And I'll just give you a hint. It's about a vaccine. And I wrote this in 2016. So all of these books are extremely, extremely prescient. So please check out Currency. You can buy it anywhere books are sold. There's an audio version, which is fantastic. We get a lot of good reviews. We did a lot of work putting the audio on all these books. So we get a lot of good feedback on the audio versions. All right, I see Mr. Teague in the green room. I'm going to bring him in now. How you doing, Tom? Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to get you on because the financial markets, are they melting up? I mean, the financial markets always discount what's coming in the future. They don't really look back. But what do you see happening in the markets right now?
I had this conversation with somebody this morning. Exact same stuff. It's there's a lot of different things, obviously, that go on. After a while, the markets seem to accept whatever's going on and sort of become desensitized to it. So after about 3 weeks of this situation we have in Iran with oil and everything else, I think markets have sort of decided that it's not really important unless there's more updates. I think obviously, you know, if you go to the gas pump, it's high, but it's not like an all-time high.
Right.
We had these points during the Biden administration. And then, you know, years later, the same gas price doesn't necessarily equate to a former gas price because we've had inflation and everything else, right? So I think the market is largely looking forward now towards earnings. We've had a lot of stuff go on. I think, you know, there's been sort of a bit of a bounce back in the software names, and that's obviously made the index go higher. The cyclicals are still a little bit, you know, kind of struggling here, you know, the oil related stuff, you know, things that are going to get slowed down by this. You know, a lot of the housing stuff is still kind of in the crapper. But we've also had AI have, you know, kind of a big rally. We're back, you know, to all-time highs in NVIDIA.
Wow.
So technically a lot of names look like they're sort of capable of breaking out. And I actually think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like the Mag 7, you know, kind of have a really big bounce here. You know, in the beginning of the year, we saw that there was a lot more equally weighted movement. We saw, you know, the Russell 2000 was doing well. I think now it's going to go back into the Mag 7. You know, I think AI is the whole data center thing that people were trying to get spooked on, and oh, we're building too many data centers, it's going to be a loss. I don't think people are worried about it. So I think the market, to answer your question, is really forward looking right now, and the assumption is that we're not going to get anything that happens that much worse in Iran. And I think, you know, my own personal opinion is that if we can pull this off in Iran and we can resolve this thing without too much damage to oil infrastructure or production or any of that stuff, I think it's another choke point that Trump's eliminated. And I think this is going to be very good for the U.S. economy going forward. This kind of, you know, this is one more thing we're not going to have to worry about, is the Straits of Hormuz, if he can pull it off.
So you think that the AI, it's risk on for the AI trade?
Yeah, for sure.
And why is that? Because there's resolution to the funding or resolution to the regulatory, like
I think that there was a story being spun that, you know, data centers were being overbuilt. I mean, you hear it. There's a lot of, you know, there's certainly a lot of Twitter accounts. There's a lot of people that are, you know, constantly trying to shoot down, you know, AI and say that the data centers that are being built, you know, everyone's going to have a loss on it. They're building too many. And these kind of news stories persist for, you know, a month or two, and then people figure out that they're nonsense. And I think that's what's happened. I think people are realizing that there's going to be more and more data centers. There's a lot of states that are trying to pass legislation right now to block that. So if anything, there's probably not going to be enough. And, you know, and we're seeing with AI, it's continuing to grow and surpass expectations in terms of revenues. Like, you know, Anthropic, for example. I mean, you know, these guys are blowing out numbers, and you know, I'm on it all day. Most people are using it a lot more. It's not going away. So I think we're in that kind of like realization that a lot of these fears were kind of artificial, and therefore we're having a bounce back.
So
and these stocks are cheap, by the way, from like a sort of traditional basis. Yeah, I mean, I think if you look on a PE basis on a lot of these Mag 7 names, they're not overpriced, you know, in particular where they've been before. So I think that's another thing. You know, it's like you're not buying stuff at the most expensive level ever.
What about the human level? Are jobs being created by these data centers, or is it just to build it and then they go away? I mean, are there continuing?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think there's an undercurrent in the labor market right now where you're seeing a lot more blue collar jobs kind of grow, and data centers are obviously good, you know, for blue collar jobs, is building stuff. You've got, you know, power, that's going to be good, you know, building more power. So there's a lot of and so, but I think also these two currents in the jobs market are that we're seeing more people that are coming out of college unemployed. So it's not like just this massive job growth across the board. It's kind of a reversal of what we've seen over maybe 5-10 years, where the blue collar guys gets stiffed and everyone else is doing really good. I think we're kind of back the other way a little bit.
That's a good point. Interesting. What about cyclicals? You mentioned those, and these are like the commodity stocks, et cetera, that are really driven by the business cycle. Those typically have a really good yield, especially when the price is way down, right? I mean, so are those maybe a good buy for?
Well, we've had a pullback like in a lot of the energy stuff, like Exxon, Chevron. They're definitely, they were off highs. So and they have pretty legit yields. I think
you're talking like 3 to 5% somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Which is nothing to sneeze at.
It's definitely not, especially when they're growing their earnings and the outlook looks good. I think the energy stuff, if you have a longer term view, I think we're going to have more and more exploration and production in oil, and we're exporting in the United States now like 5 million barrels of oil a day, which is more than Russia. So that's pretty significant. I think there's still going to be a big demand for energy based on AI. So regardless of what happens here with oil prices right now, there's still going to be demand. A lot of people think like as you get further out, there's going to be a lot more exploration, there's going to be a lot more oil. If you can get rid of sort of the premium that you're getting from the Straits of Hormuz on the price of oil, then maybe it's bearish for oil long term. But I think most of these majors are making money at at these levels, and particularly even at $40-50 a barrel. I think they're still making money. So
I've been out of it for a while, but back in the day, the majors everybody knows, but the oil field service stocks were kind of the rock stars for a while back in the day. Halliburton's and I forget the other names now, but are those attractive to you? I mean, they typically don't have a yield; they're more aggressive, but they're kind of a play on the build out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like personally, I like Schlumberger. That's one that I'm kind of a big fan of.
But I start R, but I can't remember what it is. But
a rig?
No, something else. No big deal.
Okay.
It may have been acquired and swallowed up by somebody, but
yeah. I mean, I generally think that this is a space that's going to continue to work. I also, I've said this before, but if you've got, kind of a longer term view, I think coal is something that's interesting too, because through this thing, I think we're seeing how important energy is and having a strong grid. And you're looking at Europe, and Europe's in a disastrous position right now. And I think that, you're going to see demand for all forms of energy, and part of it's coal. And so a lot of these coal companies are pretty beaten up. They've bounced from all-time lows, but I think, coal's something interesting as well. Nuclear stuff, so we're kind of getting a bounce back in some of these names, the nuclear names, they were way overbought and they've come back in. So, I don't know. I think the, kind of going back to your original question on the markets, I think that the markets are sort of moving on from this and looking forward to some pretty big growth. There's still a lot of, things out there that could wreck where markets are right now. Like if we don't get this thing resolved in Iran, or they do take out capacity, or, we got the midterms coming. So, there's a lot of stuff that's hanging out there, but for right now, we're headed through earnings. And for the most part, earnings have been pretty good.
I was going to ask you about midterms. If he gets this resolved in the next 30, 60 days, how do the midterms look in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that will be good. I think the midterms, I mean, for me, it's way too early to tell. I think we're going to get a lot of information that's going to continue to come out. I think we'll get information about some of the elections and the election integrity or lack thereof. I think we'll get more information about, sort of what's been going on with others like the SPLC that came out, and so I think, whether or not people get prosecuted for, crimes committed, I think that it'll be a big news flow. And so I think it's too early to make an assumption that, midterms are going one way or the other. We still got some big question marks with regards to gerrymandering. And so that could add or subtract a lot depending on what the court cases end up showing or ruling. Right. So I just think it's too early, but certainly if this thing's resolved fairly quickly, I think we could, have a fairly strong economy and look a lot better going into the midterms.
Tom, thank you. Anything else you want to get out?
Nope, that's it.
All right. See you next time.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bye. All right.
Nuclear wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does nuclear do? Nuclear itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I forgot to tell you, with the Nucleo Boost, if you get the subscription, it's cheaper, the monthly subscription. So please check out that at cdmnutrition.com. Also, mypillow.com. Go there. Use promo code CDM. I travel a lot, and I can't wait to get back to my mattress topper. I talk about it all the time. I was thinking that this morning when I woke up at 5 something and just felt like, wow, I'm so refreshed. No pains, just that feeling of complete rest. I love that thing. I can't wait to get back to it. So go to mypillow.com if you need somebody, if you have somebody that you need a gift for, the mattress topper is the deal. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code CDM, you'll get the best discounts. That's important. Promo code CDM. Also, we're an Intel Brief. We're not an activist show. We want to make you the smartest in the room. So we hope to do that. I hope you got something out of today's show. We're going to be doing a lot more on Beirut. We're doing a lot of traveling in the next 60 days, so bear with us. But we're also upping our production. We'll probably bring in a guest host. So we're ramping up the show. A lot going on at CDM. You're going to see a lot of positive changes. You're already seeing a lot more content. And we just redid the Montana Sentinel, by the way. If you go to montanasentinel.com, let me throw that up there. You can see the new site that we spent a lot of time on. Hold on one second, and I'll bring that up for you so you can see that site that we spent a lot of time redoing. It's coming in now. Hold on. It's a little slow. There must be a lot of people on the site coming in. Anyway, that's not coming up, but montanasentinel.com with an S. And maybe we're getting attacked on that because there's a lot of opposition to that. Montana is one of the states where we ran to the sound of the guns to try to develop a paper that is to combat what's going on in the state. And a lot of people don't like it, like Colorado, et cetera. So montanasentinel.com. I will deal with the slowness on the site when we get off this. It's one of the things we deal with daily. And this is the URL, but it will be working later in the day. We've totally redone the site. It's really cool. It's got kind of a cowboy theme to it, Western theme, and I think you'll love it. All right, that's it for today. We'll be back. Stay with us tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Eastern on the SCIF. We got Pete Blaber coming in. Oh, this just came up, so here we go. Here's the new site. Hope you like it. montanasentinel.com. A lot of new categories, a lot going on there. We're going to really ramp that paper up. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us today on the SCIF. Take care.